Hey, Cohen here, and today I want to talk to you about believing in other people. More specifically, believing what other people are predicting for your life, or what other people think of you, or what other people are imagining what you're capable of or not capable of. You know, sometimes people will put limitations on you, and if you're not careful, you'll start to really believe those things, especially when those people are people who you consider to be authority figures. Maybe it's a mom, it's a dad, it's a doctor, or it's someone who you look up to, right? It's a guru. It's someone who has this influence over you. The one thing that will help you to succeed and to get to a higher position continuously in life, more than anything almost, is what you believe about yourself. What you believe about yourself has so much power in it that if you just start to analyze what it is that you're actually thinking, what it is that you've taken from other people, right, throughout your life, from the very beginning, from when you were a kid up until now, where have you gotten your thoughts from? Where have you gotten what you're capable of from, right? And are those people that have given you things that can empower you or that can hinder you? You know, there's so many people that are really living limited lives right now because they've listened to someone that told them that they couldn't do it. I'm actually out here at one of my favorite spots. Take a look at this. I like to come out here and get some cardio, get some walking on, some speed walking, and you know, things like that after I leave the gym. This is a beautiful spot right here. It's a great spot for coming out. Check this out. There's some ducks out there. I don't know if you guys can see them, but it's a great spot for clearing your mind, for thinking, for reviewing your goals. But you know, when I was younger, I was told that because I have sickle cell anemia, and a lot of you guys probably know that I have sickle cell anemia, which is a chronic disease. It's a blood disease disorder that affects primarily African Americans and people from the Mediterranean, people from Africa, and descendants, right, from Africa. So when I was younger, I was told by my doctor indirectly. I was in the hospital. I had been in the hospital for about 3 weeks. I was having an insane sickle cell anemia crisis, and I remember I was in Yale New Haven Hospital, and I remember this like it was yesterday. I was 12 years old, about 12 years old, and I remember my mom and the doctor outside of my hospital room door talking, right? And, you know, my mom's concerned. I had been in the hospital for about a month at this point. And normally when I went in the hospital, it would be a couple of weeks, you know, about 3 weeks, 2 weeks. But this crisis was a little bit bad. It was one of the worst ones that I've had. And outside my hospital door, they're talking, and the doctor says, "Mrs. Cohen, you shouldn't expect your son, Ty, to live past the age of 17. This thing is going to kill him." Right? So people with sickle cell anemia don't live long. And yes, that was true. For the most part, and it's still true. There's a lot of people that pass extremely early by having this thing or complications of it. Matter of fact, my sister Gwen passed when she was 27. She had sickle cell anemia as well, so she passed from complications of it. So the doctor said, you know, you shouldn't expect your son Ty to live past the age of 12 because he's going to die from either sickle cell anemia or complications of it. And they didn't realize that I heard them, and I started bawling. I put the covers over my head, and I started crying. This became my reality at that time. You know, and there's some other things that took place in my life later as I got older, you know, about 17 or so, where I finally started to understand that no one has power over, you know, what happens to my life other than, right? Other than higher power, God or universe or whatever it is that you believe in. No one has power over your life other than, you know, whoever it is that you choose to believe in. So once I started to realize that, I realized that, man, I have so much power in other areas of my life, right? So not only did I change what was expected of me by not only living past the age of 17, but many, many, many decades past that, right? I know I look like I'm 27 right here. But I mean, imagine had I not realized that this doctor's words, no matter how much of an authority I thought he was at that time, no matter how credible he was, no matter how successful of a physician he was, he was a hematologist, and he didn't have power over who I was to become. And I've taken that throughout many stages of my life. I remember telling someone that I was going to start an internet marketing business. I was going to start a business, and I'm at a family reunion, an event, a family get-together. It wasn't a reunion. And, the guys that I told this to, they couldn't believe it. They're like, don't do it. That's the worst thing ever. And I'm in my early 20s. Luckily enough, I didn't take their advice, because I've gone on to be extremely successful financially with it. There's so many different things, so many areas where in my life I've been told that I can't do it. You would never find a good wife. I've been married now together with my wife, for now, as of this, coming up on 15 years here, right? And we've gone through everything. We first met when we had nothing. So there's great people out there. So I was told that, because I have sickle cell anemia, you would not be able to live past a certain age. Beat that. I was told that because I didn't have a college education, or didn't go to school, or grew up in the hood and didn't have anyone business-wise to look up to mentor me, that I would never be able to start a successful business. I've gone on to start tons of successful businesses, all that have generated 7 figures, right? Not all, I'm sorry, but many that have generated 7 figures. So you never, ever, ever should get to the point where you believe in what someone tells you that you can't or can't do. You can or can't do. The power is in you. You have to have an unstoppable will, an incredible will. All right. I was told that, earlier in life, that I would never be able to buy a house, my wife and I, because we didn't have the proper credit, right? Our credit score was crazy. It was like in the 400s at that time. We didn't have the money, right? We didn't have family members or parents that we could go and borrow the money from. And through discipline and extreme will, 6 months later, we bought our first house. Super young, in our 20s, bought our first house, right? And this is 2 kids that are coming from the hood that didn't have anyone else to look up to, that didn't have any experience, right? And that everyone told it was impossible. There's so many things that you can do if you have the right will, if you have a belief, and if you really just put in the effort. If you go in, regardless of what anyone says, regardless of what your current circumstances are, regardless of what you're seeing other people around you do, you put on the blinders and you just stay focused and you do it. And not only do you do it, but you do it big. You do it so big where people start to believe in you. And they start to not only believe in you, but they also start to believe in themselves. Right? The beauty of being able to surpass your limitations, your so-called limitations, is also being able to encourage and motivate and inspire other people. So oftentimes we don't just do this stuff for ourselves. We do it so that we can also inspire people that look like us, people that look up to us, people that are close to us, people that don't believe that they can do it. Because if they see that you can do it, then they start to believe even more so that they can do it. So I hope this message finds you well. I hope this really helps you out. And remember, there's so much power in this thing right here, the thinking that we do on a regular basis. So train your mind to just think about the possibilities. Train your mind to think about how can you do something versus why it's not possible for you to do it. If you look at a guy like Roger Bannister, right? Roger Bannister, man, he was the first one to hit the 4-minute mile. The first one. And they told him that it couldn't be done. They told him that, his coaches said it couldn't be done, right? The professionals said that it couldn't be done. Some of the best in the sport said that it couldn't be done. And he said, I'm crazy enough to believe that it could be done, regardless of what you guys say, regardless of what's been done in the past. I have the will to make this possible. And then because he did it, what happened? After he did it, tons of other people have done it, including teenagers, right? So tons of other people. So that's what I mean by having a will, doing it, believing in the impossible.